Ich gebe es ja gern zu, eigentlich kann man das Thema nicht mehr hören. Corona, Covid-19, eine Seuche, was man einschaltet, was man liest, es geht immer nur um das eine Thema. Aber trotzdem hat es natürlich auch seinen Platz in PITWALK TV, dem großen Online-Fernsehsender der Zeitschrift PITWALK. Denn Corona hat gerade in diesen Tagen wieder einmal gezeigt, dass es mächtig Einfluss auf unser Lieblingsthema hat, auf den Motorsport. Deswegen beschäftigen wir uns in unserer Zeitschrift PITWALK regelmäßig schon mit den Folgen von Corona fürs Racing und zeigen auch immer wieder auf, wie es besser gehen könnte als das, was in Deutschland passiert, sowohl von der Politik als auch und erst recht vom Deutschen Motorsportbund, dem DMSB, der den Sport hier ziemlich im Regen stehen lässt. Gerade gibt es das aktuelle Beispiel, das Hockenheim Historic ist verlegt worden. Das hätte eigentlich Anfang Mai, am 1. Mai-Wochenende stattfinden sollen. Wir haben es in allen Ausgaben, ich glaube den letzten 3, 4 der Zeitschrift PITWALK immer wieder ganz bewusst in den Vordergrund geschoben, weil dort das große Comeback der Gruppe C auf dem Hockenheimring hätte stattfinden sollen. Jetzt ist dieses Rennen auch verschoben worden. Es gibt einen Ausweichtermin, der noch nicht offiziell bestätigt ist. Der wird im August liegen. Die ganzen Hintergründe dazu, die bereiten wir gerade auf in jener Ausgabe der Zeitschrift PITWALK, die dieser Tage Redaktionsschluss hat. Ende April wird das nächste Heft auf den Markt kommen und da gibt es dann einen großen Themenrundumschlag zum Komplex Corona und Motorsport. Nicht nur, aber auch eben rund um die Verschiebung des Gruppe C Comebacks. Das ist gar nicht mal so schlimm, wie es sich auf den ersten Blick anhört, aber trotzdem ein Ärgernis. Warum das Ganze vielleicht sogar noch Glück im Unglück ist, das erklärt uns in der großen Hintergrundgeschichte in der nächsten Pitwalk Fritz Gebhardt, der Mann, der hinter dem Revival der Gruppe C auf dem Hockenheimring steht. Aber wie üblich bei Pitwalk packen wir das Ganze natürlich in einen größeren Kontext und gucken, warum ist es denn in Amerika und sogar in Russland mittlerweile möglich, Motorsport mit Zuschauern und sicher zu betreiben. Die IndyCar-Serie wird das gerade vormachen beim Saisonbeginn. Da werden bereits wieder Fans erlaubt sein. In Russland gibt es sogar einen ganzen Motorsport-Boom, der maßgeblich befeuert wird durch die dort viel besser umgesetzten Corona-Maßnahmen. Also wo klemmt es in Deutschland? Und warum ist Amerika und mittlerweile sogar Russland ein Vorbild, an dem sich Deutschland orientieren muss? Das Ganze knüpft nahtlos an das Heft, was ihr da hinter mir seht. Die Ausgabe Corona Racing trotz Corona von vor 2 Ausgaben. Das ist unser großes Jubiläumsheft zum 10-Jährigen. Da haben wir schon einmal nach England und in die USA geschaut, um euch darzustellen, was da besser läuft. Es geht dabei immer nur um Motorsport und nicht um die große Politik. Das müssen die Kollegen vom Spiegel und von anderen journalistischen Produkten machen. Wir konzentrieren uns bewusst auf den Motorsport und schauen danach, was läuft anders, woanders und besser? Warum ist das so? Und was hat das für Konsequenzen auf den deutschen Motorsport? Vor allen Dingen letzteres ist ein ziemliches Trauerspiel, muss man leider so eindeutig sagen. Auch das wird dann im nächsten Heft der Zeitschrift PITWALK wieder rausgearbeitet werden. Die Recherchen für die Geschichte, die dann Ende April wieder für Aufsehen sorgen wird in der nächsten 180 Seiten starken Ausgabe, die hat mich digital per Videokonferenz bis nach Dallas und bis nach Indianapolis geführt. Denn im Zuge der Recherchen bin ich darauf gestoßen, dass an diesen beiden Rennstrecken, wo noch im Mai IndyCar gefahren werden wird, in großem Umfang auf private Initiative geimpft wird. Und eins ist klar, Tests und sonstige Sachen führen einen nicht raus aus dem Dauer-Lockdown, aus der Pandemie. Das geht nur, wenn genug Leute sich die Spritze setzen lassen, wenn genug Leute geimpft werden. Erst dann kann tatsächlich wieder eine neue Normalität Einkehr halten. Und da ist man in Deutschland aus bekannten Gründen noch sehr, sehr weit davon entfernt. In Deutschland, aber auch in der ganzen EU. Deutschland ist daher noch einmal ein ausgemachtes Negativbeispiel innerhalb des Impfkrisengebiets EU. Also war klar, nachdem ich gehört habe, was da in Amerika los ist, rund um den Motorsport und um Motorsportstätten, den Texas Motor Speedway und den Indianapolis Motor Speedway, dass ich da anrufe und dass ich mich mit den dortigen Geschäftsführern direkt unterhalte, um mir erklären zu lassen, wie das Ganze funktioniert, warum die plötzlich in der Rennstrecke anfangen können zu impfen, warum das so schnell geht, warum es keine Wartezeiten gibt wie in Deutschland und auch welchen Einfluss das Ganze auf das Geschäftsmodell der Rennstrecke und auf den ganzen Motorsport, sowohl die IndyCar als auch die NASCAR-Serie hat. Von diesen ganzen Gesprächen hat natürlich nur ein Bruchteil der Zitate von den beiden Geschäftsführern Eingang finden können in die große Hintergrundgeschichte Corona und Motorsport. Die wird heißen Impftirade, denn da geht es eben um die Gruppe C in Hockenheim, um Deutschland, um Russland, um England, um die USA. Die Gespräche allerdings, sowohl mit Eddie Gossage, dem Geschäftsführer vom Texas Motor Speedway, als auch mit Doug Bowles, dem Boss vom Indianapolis Motor Speedway, die sind dermaßen interessant, dass ich sie euch gerne auf PITWALK TV in voller Länge zur Verfügung stellen möchte. Natürlich sind sie per Videokonferenz auf Englisch geführt worden, aber ich gehe mal davon aus, dass euer Englisch gut genug ist. Das Gespräch, das ich zunächst einmal mit Eddie Gossage, dem Geschäftsführer vom Texas Motor Speedway, geführt habe, dass ihr das auch zumindest in gröbsten Zügen nachvollziehen könnt. Guckt es euch an, genießt es euch und staunt auch ein bisschen darüber, was Eddie Gossage zu erzählen hat, warum in Amerika, warum in Texas so doll geimpft werden kann, dass dort sogar die Maskenpflicht aufgehoben ist. Hier kommt quasi der Director's Cut von jenem Gespräch mit Eddie Gossage, dem Chef des Texas Motor Speedway, das als ein Stützpfeiler der Recherche für die nächste Ausgabe der Zeitschrift PITWALK von Ende April dient. Viel Spaß! Simon Pagino is a column writer of ours in the magazine PITWALK.
Okay.
And he told me when we did the Zoom call for the last column for this very issue, he said Indianapolis have just vaccinated 17,000 people through the course of a weekend. I thought I misheard him with his French accent, and I asked again. He said, no, it's 17,000. And then I dug deep a little and saw that India doing it, but that also it has been done in Texas and apparently in Bristol as well, which is under your reign. So I'm just interested to find out how this came about, who had the idea, and how it was actually possible for a private entity to start vaccinating people.
Well, some of the political leaders in our area came to us. We have a very large footprint, huge parking lots, because we have crowds of 200,000 or so. And so it's very easy to set up a vaccination process in our parking lot. And so we've been giving 10,000 to 13,000 vaccinations a day, 3 days a week. We just topped 200,000 vaccinations delivered here today.
Just on the Speedway, that is.
Just here at the Speedway, yes. It's hard for people to comprehend how large these places are, but we're able to use just a small portion of a paved parking lot. And our business, in large part, is logistics, moving traffic in, parking people, moving individuals from their vehicles into the venue and back out, and of course, dispersing the traffic. So it was really easy for us to work with the county and develop a system where basically from the time you get on the property to the time you leave the property, you'll have to do a little bit of paperwork, receive your shot, and then sit for 15 minutes to make sure you don't have any side effects. That's a 30-minute window. From the time you drive onto the property to the time you drive off, it's only 30 minutes. So we've been able to do it very efficiently, and been able to, as a result, typically on a day, do anywhere from 10,000 to 13,000 people without any major concerns. It's easy to do. We're used to handling a couple 100,000 people in a day. 10,000 people is a piece of cake.
Makes you want to cry if you live in Germany for reasons which I just mentioned. But there you go. You do it on the parking lot, or you do it in the infield. I mean, Indianapolis did it in their Formula One garages, didn't they? So you just do it completely outside the Speedway. You don't even have to drive into the venue of yours.
Right. We do it outside in our parking lot. I think we may have as big a footprint. We have 1,500 acres here. We've got 76,000 parking spaces. So, it is hard to digest how big these parking lots are, but they go on forever. And so we're only using a little portion of our parking lot to do this, but it's worked very efficiently. But here in America, oddly enough, I was given notice and went to get my vaccination, I had to drive 45 minutes across town from my office where we're giving vaccinations to get mine. But you're assigned a location when you get on a list, and they tell you where to go and when to go. And, it works fine.
That's the same in Germany. You have to go to certain, what they call vaccination centers, and then you get a time and date where you're going to get your shot. But it's obviously everything is in slow motion over here. Is what you're doing, is it something which is designed specifically at addressing people who want to attend the IndyCar race or the NASCAR race or any other races on your venue, so that they have to get the shot and then they can go in? Or is it just open to anybody who pleases?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with motorsports. It simply is a location, and you, if you want to get the vaccine, you go online and in different counties and get on their waiting list, and you're assigned a number, and they give you a notice the day or two before and tell you your time is 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. or whatever, and it works. It's worked perfectly here.
Can you let people into the IndyCar race and the NASCAR race later on, or is that not yet decided? And do they have to have a vaccination? And if so, will they get preference in ticketing if they took that vaccination at your venue?
Well, here in the state of Texas, the governor has removed all restrictions. Everything is open 100%. You're not required to wear a mask. You're not required to provide proof of vaccination. We will, May 1st and 2nd, we have an IndyCar doubleheader weekend. And then June 13th, we've got the NASCAR All-Star race. We will encourage people to wear their masks. We will encourage them to socially distance between each other. We'll work hard to sanitize the concession food stands and keep the restrooms clean and things of that nature. But it's really up to the individual because all restrictions are removed. Now, if I go into a shop or a restaurant, if they post on the door that a mask is required, legally you can be charged with trespassing if you don't wear a mask. Out of courtesy, I've always got one in my pocket and I'll put it on. But here in Texas, all the restrictions are removed, and so we don't have to require a mask or anything. It's just like it was before.
But I suppose that's still the reason why they are removed is because vaccination went so quickly, and then you had your hand in that in addition to others. I don't know Dallas Cowboys in their stadium would have done something similar, because you keep on getting news reports that it's handled similarly in other venues as well. So I don't know where or where not it was.
Yeah, there are locations all over that. In my case, I went to a hospital, but I know that they have any place that has a large parking lot. They have set up vaccination centers, and but I don't know that it's not a competition, and because I'm a very competitive person. But I'll tell you that I'll just say this: none of them have served 10,000 people, come close to serving 10,000 people in a day. The space we have to work with and the system we've developed has been very efficient and served a lot of folks. So we all want to get everybody vaccinated. We want to develop herd immunity. I have some international travel I'm going to do personally. I want everybody around the globe to get their vaccination. I want to be able to go on a trip with my wife and enjoy myself. And I know we all do. We want to get back to normal.
Plus, obviously, for you as a speedway promoter, it's rather important that a crowd can come in. I suppose IndyCar is not going to be sold out in Texas. I've been to your place when the ALMS was there, so I know how big it is. I suppose IndyCar isn't filling the grandstands, but NASCAR may well be still, I think. IndyCar won't sell out. We've got 135,000 seats. So it's a very large place. Really, it's much too large. We built it in the 90s to meet the demands of NASCAR, the crowds they were drawing. But even NASCAR doesn't draw a crowd like that any longer. There was a time we had 150,000 permanent seats. We put in 16,000 temporary seats. Of course, you've got people in the infield and all the suites, and we even have condominiums people live in here. It was over 216,000 people here that day, but
That was then, this is now. And really nobody draws a crowd that big. But IndyCar will do 60,000 people. And it's an incredibly respectable crowd for an auto race. And the IndyCars here are pretty amazing, to say the least.
From a business standpoint, looking back at last year, what's the cutoff number, if you can say anything like that? From when does it make sense to already stage a race and to say it's business-wise not viable to do it? I'm asking because obviously in Germany there is a system in place where you may be allowed half capacity crowd or 1/3 capacity, or 2 seats, 2 empty seats, 2 seats, 2 empty seats, whatever the system is. So, and at some stage in time, it obviously doesn't make sense for a promoter to do it anymore because just not enough gate money.
Well, the business deal with IndyCar and with NASCAR, they're distinctly unlike each other. With IndyCar, we don't see any television money. It's strictly what we sell, tickets and VIP suites and signage around the track and things of that nature. In NASCAR, it's all those things plus a massive television check for the TV rights that we receive.
You as a track promoter as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And so in NASCAR, even without a crowd, it turned a profit. Now we could have 50% capacity when these races came around last year. We didn't come anywhere close to that number because people, are reluctant to be in a crowd in some cases, and so but we had pretty respectable crowds. In IndyCar, you don't get any of that TV money. We knew that was going to be a loser, but we also knew, and I talked to Roger Penske about it at length. If we were the first IndyCar race, as it turned out last year because of the pandemic, and we were in early June. I don't think if we had said, okay, let's do it without a crowd, we know we're going to lose a lot of money. I don't know that we would have if IndyCar could have gotten up and running last year. So we did it because we're trying to do what's right for the sport. We wouldn't do it, after a couple of years, I guess, if it was continue to be that way, but it got the sport rolling. The sport of auto racing is interesting. There's a lot of money in it but it comes in the front door and goes out the back door. You have a lot of expenses. It costs a lot more to put on an automobile race than it does a ball game of some sort. But as long as you've got that money coming in the door, you can do it. The same with a racing team or a racing series. But once that cash is shut off and doesn't come through the doors, the whole thing becomes very weak very quickly. And so that's what we thought was the thing to do to support IndyCar, was to go ahead, have their first race, get things working, get the cash flowing back through the sport. It's the lifeblood of the sport, and it served its purpose as well for IndyCar. In NASCAR, like I said, there's an equation. TV pays tremendous amount of money. Of course, television ratings for NASCAR is much higher than IndyCar. For that matter, the regular season TV numbers for NASCAR are second only behind the National Football League. It's bigger than any other sport. So the TV networks pay a lot of money for it. We needed to fulfill that obligation to get that money rolling through the sport. And so you get a certain amount of money on television. 65% stays with the track promoter. 25% goes into the purse for the competitors, and 10% goes to NASCAR. So that's the same at every NASCAR race. So it's very important to all of us to keep that television money flowing through the sport because it kept all of us afloat.
And even that, this amount of money which came in through NASCAR allowed you to kind of supplement the IndyCar thing, because you're looking at motorsports at a broader picture and say, okay, we're going to lose money on the IndyCar side of things, but NASCAR is going to flush some money into the bank account, so we might as well dare that for a year or maybe even a second year if would have been needed.
Yeah, I'm not sure NASCAR would appreciate me saying that The NASCAR money helped keep us afloat with the IndyCar races, but it did. And you know, sometimes you have to do what is right for the sport and expect the sport to pay you off down the road. And that's what we were doing last year, really, in everything that we did, not just racing, but we had high school graduation ceremonies here. 34, I think, high schools, 14,000 students. You know, they were looking for an outdoor place. We've got the world's biggest TV, 220 feet wide and 100 some odd feet tall. It's 13 stories tall. And the parents could sit in the infield in their automobiles while the students were on the front straightaway, and they went through their normal graduation ceremony and received their diplomas, and their families could see on the big screen from their cars the graduation ceremony. And it was, well, we didn't make any money doing that, but it's the right thing to do in your community, just like the vaccines are. So all those things pay you off down the road.
And what you said, doing the right thing within your community, ties in quite nicely with an interview I had with Walter Czarnecki of Penske, who said for their magazine, which is behind me, which I told you before about, where I explained what America did better to get motorsport rolling again. He said when they rekindled NASCAR and also IndyCar, there was always NASCAR more so than IndyCar because it's bigger, obviously. There was always a very constructive tie-in between federal government, not so much, local government, state government, but very much local government.
Yes.
Like, would you say, you know, this almost sounds like vaccination thing, the graduation, what you just said. The guys at Indy tell me they had a service, a memorial service for a policeman who died on duty, which they did. So it seems to be tying in completely with that to say, look, there's always been this tie-in between local community and venue, because the venue wants to get back to life, but also I suppose the local communities want you to go back to life because they get 10% VAT on every hot dog and beer you sell.
They do, and you know, it's just the right thing to do. Here in America is to be a big part of your community, and so whether it's the high school graduations or vaccines or a lot of other things that we do, those things definitely pay off because people are more interested in what you're doing. They appreciate what you mean to the community, and so they come to your races and support you in turn. So it works.
Do you have one last thing? Do you have to carry out a self-test still before you go to the venue? I think they did it at IndyCar in Arcade Lake, if I remember correctly, last year. Where the competitors
may. You know, they're in what we call the bubble. Yeah. They're in the paddock, and you know, only those are allowed in there. So it may be that they are, but I'm not. And things have relaxed some since last year too. You know, but you know, last year we did for the spectators coming through the gates, check their temperatures, things of that nature. We obviously won't be doing that this year because of no restrictions. But you know, the thing I keep preaching to everybody is you're responsible. Be responsible for yourself. If you're sick, if you're, you know, don't risk it. It's not worth it. Turn on the television. It's on television live. So.
Okay. Thank you very much for taking your time. I think. Tatsächlich nur staunen und auch aus deutscher Warte ein bisschen entsetzt, vielleicht sogar neidisch in die Vereinigten Staaten nach Texas blicken, nach dem, was Eddie Gossett uns dort erzählt hat. Dieses Gespräch natürlich ausgiebig, als Appetithappen auch gedacht für euch, sich vielleicht nochmal Motorsport trotz Corona in unserer Ausgabe von vor 4 Monaten anzugucken oder das Corona-Karussell und das Corona-Komödienstadel in der Formel 1, in der noch aktuellen Ausgabe der Zeitschrift PITWALK nachzulesen. Da gibt es ja auch viele Einblicke hinter die Kulissen, wie die Formel-1-Teams mit Corona umgehen, wie sie sich eigene Testzentren geschaffen haben, all diese ganzen Sachen. Das sind die beiden Ausgaben, die jetzt vor Ausgabe 60 noch relevant sind, um das Thema Corona im Motorsport vollumfänglich zu begreifen. Erdi Gossic hat jetzt hier mal aufgezeigt im großen Gespräch mit mir, mit Norbert Ockenga, wie es denn in Amerika anders läuft. Wir betrachten das Ganze weiter unter dem Brennglas, unter der Lupe der kritischen Berichterstattung aus dem Motorsportwinkel heraus. Morgen gibt es den nächsten Talk. Dann ist Doug Bowles mein Gast, der Geschäftsführer des Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Und auch dem habe ich einige interessante Aussagen zum Thema Massenimpfungen auf einer Rennstrecke auf Privatinitiative entlocken können. Vielleicht schickt ja mal der ein oder andere einen Link an die relevanten Stellen in der Politik, damit auch da mal gesehen wird, wie es denn tatsächlich funktionieren kann, wie man ein Land mit vereinten Kräften aus der Starre des Dauer-Lockdowns befreien kann. Schön wäre es, ja. Auf jeden Fall dokumentieren wir den motorsportlichen Aspekt von Corona in allen Facetten weiter, wie wir es ja bereits seit dem ersten Lockdown mit der großen Geschichte vom MC Norden getan haben, der den Sport damals vor gut einem Jahr aus der Corona-Starre wachgeküsst hat. Viel gebracht hat es nicht, denn auch das Rennen des MC Norden für dieses Jahr ist wiederum abgesagt worden wegen des Virus, beziehungsweise wegen der schleppenden Impfkampagne, um das klar rauszuarbeiten. Es geht also nach wie vor nur von Lockdown zu Lockdown, ganz anders, als die Amerikaner es uns vormachen. Morgen geht es weiter mit dem nächsten Blick über den großen Teich nach Amerika, dann nach Indianapolis. Bis dahin kommentiert fleißig, was ihr davon haltet. Empfehlt uns weiter, sorgt dafür, dass gerade diese Videos zu diesem so wichtigen, so relevanten Thema eine große virale Verbreitung bekommen und auch dafür, dass ihr euch in der nächsten Ausgabe der Zeitschrift PITWALK vom April noch einmal genau damit beschäftigt, was Corona für Folgen für den deutschen Motorsport hat und wie es international so viel besser geht. Leider muss man ja sagen. Bis bald, danke für eure rege Anteilnahme, für eure Beteiligung beim Viral gehen lassen. Danke fürs Reinschauen, fürs Empfehlen, fürs Liken und Kommentieren. Euer Norbert Ockenga.